Hey everybody, PC Outcast here, back with more Everlasting Summer, and we are winding down, at least I hope, the Ulyana's good route. We've done all the choices that we can do, and we're on the last day. We're actually nearly at the end of the last day, so this should be the last episode, unless it has like a really, really long, convoluted outro, but let's see. What reasons? Various. Why are you so curious? Have you forgotten that I'm a child? She grinned archly. Well, half an hour with you is like a terrible torture for me. Look who's talking. You're just one really nasty-tempered person. What makes you think so? You're always deep in soul-searching, trying to find out something, analyzing everyone around you. I gave Ulyana an amazed look. I would have never expected such a little girl to be capable of such mature judgment. And that's it. At the very least, I know how to behave myself and I don't end up grounded. It's a matter of choice. She grinned. Yeah, sure. If last night... She stopped short. Last night what? Nothing. No, finish what you started. She just opened her mouth when steps were heard behind the door, and a second later Olga entered the room. Ah, here you are. That's even better. She seemed confused and lost for words. Well, I reconsidered this morning's incident. It's not like it became much clearer, but it doesn't look like a big deal. So, Ulyana, you're officially not grounded anymore. If only you did that right from the start. I muttered. Did you say something? No, nothing. Departure's coming. Time to pack your stuff. Saying that, she left the cabin. Now you see how it all turned out? Yeah. I sighed. Are you gonna pack? Yeah, I guess so. And you? It's not like I've got much to pack. Indeed, it was the truth. Care to help me, then? Okay, sure, why not? She started to pull her clothes out of the cabinets and stuck them on her bed. Watch it. You'll mess up everything. It's okay, I'll wash them at home. T-shirts, skirts, shorts, dresses, shoes, trainers, underwear. The pile of clothes was growing and growing. You really brought all this stuff here all on your own? Considering Ulyana's constitution, it was hard to believe. Yes, of course. She laughed. Come on, give me a hand. We've started to pack up the clothes into a big bag. I tried to pack things carefully at first, but after realizing that it's pointless, resorted to just stuffing everything in to make it all fit. At last, there were no more clothes on the bed, and we even somehow managed to zip up the bag. So that's it? Yeah. I looked at the clock. It was about 40 minutes till the departure time. You know, it was fun. Meaning? Well, the last week was fun. Yeah. I said absent-mindedly. Don't you think so? Why? It sounded sort of insincere to me. Well, I must admit that I'm not exactly walking on air, yeah. But what didn't you like? It's not like I can spit out everything at once. You see, a few moments were, how can I put it, a little unexpected. Bah, you're so boring, said Ulyana, turning away from me. Well, what did he expect from me? You sound like you've got absolutely nothing to remember later. Yeah, there sure is plenty to remember, I gleamed. Yep, that's what I'm saying. She looked closely at me. That made me a bit uncomfortable. What now? And me? Will you remember me? Sure I will. Everyone. Everyone? And you. You most of all. I saluted, springing up to attention with my hand over my heart. That's better. However, do I really have something to remember about her? Yeah, we had a lot of adventures, but who is Ulyana for me? Just a nosy kid from another reality. On second thoughts, do I really care that much about my situation now? From the very first moment I appeared here, everything changed tremendously, so right now I was just curious what's going to happen next. Sure, the unknown is not the most pleasant perspective, but I must admit that it's a breathtaking one. Whether I will return to my world or not is not up to me anymore. It means that I don't really have any choice. I have to adapt to the local living conditions. And one of these conditions was sitting right in front of me, smiling broadly. You know, you're not as silly as I first thought. Why did you think I'm silly in the first place? She said in an offended tone. Just kidding. You and your jokes. Alright, it's time. Let's go. Ulyana said happily and pointed at the bag. Yeah. I shouldered her belongings. The weight almost made me bend in half. I was thankful for the fact that the bus stop was just a few hundred meters away. I shoved her stuff onto the bus and then hurried to get my own humble luggage. After some time, all the pioneers were here. Everyone is here? Began Olga. You're leaving our camp today, and I'd like to tell you something in parting. She was visibly nervous and desperately lost for words. I hope that you'll remember the time you've spent here for a lifetime, and that you'll retain only pleasant memories about Sovyanok. Have we already seen this? No? This is new dialogue. Okay. I also hope that you became at least a little bit better, managed to learn something and found new friends. Just come back next year. Camp leader turned away. Seems she was trying to hold back her tears. I wasn't expecting her to get so emotional, but I completely agreed with everything she said. Perhaps it was the first time that her words haven't just passed by my ears. Soon enough, everyone boarded the bus. I took the last seat next to Ulyana. First row was taken by Slavia and Xenia. Then, a little closer to us, Lena, Miku, Elektronik, and Shirak were playing cards. Alyssa slouched in her seat alone, 2 rows from us. There was no partner for her. Turned out a bit embarrassing for your neighbor. It's fine. You helped me get ready and brought my stuff here. I looked at her closely. It seems this little demon had changed her attitude towards me in a radical way. Could it be that I'm a friend to her? An odd word that seemed to have lost its meaning for me ages ago. I can't recall any of my acquaintances when I still had them, who I would call friends. Maybe even back when I was at school. And now someone considers me a friend. Anyway, what does it all mean to me? I always felt more comfortable thinking about abstract stuff, distant perspectives, and global matters than of simple, ordinary issues. And indeed, during all the time I've spent in this camp, I've managed to become close friends with Ulyana. She awakened these long-forgotten feelings in me. Because this is what it means to be buddies, or friends. I smiled and tousled her hair gently. What's that for? She puffed her lips. Just because. Pervert. Will you marry me when I grow up? Sure. I'll hold you to that. Okie dokie. Let's go join them at cards. Why not? We gathered around the suitcase that was being used as a table. Soon Alyssa joined us. I was laughing a lot, cracking jokes, and just enjoying being in a state one usually calls happiness. A simple happiness here and now. Right now, this bunch of pioneers that I've managed to befriend in this short week were 1,000,000 times more important to me than finding out how I came to this world and how to get out of here. In the end, should I even bother trying to get back? It was getting dark. The game was long over and the pioneers had returned to their seats. I had no idea how long it would take to get to the district center, but it seemed like an eternity. From beyond the bus windows, only pitch darkness was looking back at me, almost consuming the entire world, compressing to only the size of the Icarus's cabin. Anyway, the surroundings were the least of my concerns now. I was enjoying the moment. Seems that this reality is completely normal. And does it really matter how I got here if things turn out this great? I became another person and met new friends. What are you thinking about? About life. How's it going? Just awesome. Ulyana laughed quietly. I don't have a place to return to, so I can choose any life path I want. Yes, we will part ways soon, and I'll probably never see most of them again, but we'll stay friends forever. Pleasant warmth flowed through my body. Felt like a kid again. Ulyana put her head on my shoulder and quickly fell asleep. Sometimes you may feel tired, not only because of hard work or sad feelings, but also because of fun, joy, and happiness. You may probably even want to continue, but have no energy to, with your soul demanding time to rest and your body asking for calm. I fell asleep with a smile on my face. That's sweet. Felt like I hadn't slept at all. It happens all the time. You just close your eyes and fall asleep. The hour hand makes several turns, and morning comes and you wake up, but it feels like you just blinked. I yawned so wide that I almost broke my jaw and jumped up because of the pain. Something was wrong. Though not something. Everything was wrong. I was back in my apartment. But how can that be possible? I began to panic and I started to run around my room in the hope of calming myself down. Physical tiredness can often overcome an emotional one. My head was empty. Fear and terror took over my whole being, and some kind of song was floating in my mind. Maybe a prayer, or maybe just an incoherent jumble of thoughts designed, if not to calm me down, then at least to distract me from my panic. It was about half an hour before I collapsed on the floor, exhausted, and fixed my eyes on the ceiling. Seems like I had not gone anywhere. The old chandelier looked down at me unkindly with its dusty lamps. The cracks in the plaster were in the same places, and the unstuck wallpaper hadn't slipped down even a little. Was it really a dream? But it can't be. It just can't be. I spent an entire week in that pioneer camp. I was definitely there. I remember everything perfectly, from my awakening aboard the bus right up to the departure. Neither dreams nor hallucinations can be that real. Somehow I stood up, went to the kitchen, filled the glass with water, and returned to the room. The blood was still hammering in my temples, but at least the terror of the first few minutes was gone. Or had just taken a break. I concentrated on the last thing I remembered. It was the departure from the camp. The night, the bus bouncing over the bumps, the dirty, murky glass beyond which almost nothing was visible, and the pioneers. I'd been absolutely positive that I would never return. Or just didn't think about it. Anyway, I was prepared for our arrival at the district center in a few hours and was already considering options for my further actions. Or not. Damn it. I roared and pulled on my hair with all my strength. I can't remember. The last hours in that world merged into a monotonous mirage, as if a drunken Renoir was completing his painting with a roller instead of a brush. But it's not that bad. Wait a minute. Why would it be bad? On the contrary, everything is fine. I would say even perfect. I've broken free from the goddamn world and returned home. The most important thing now is not to end up there again. It might happen. Surely it could. Ugh. But it might not happen as well. Indeed, I have nothing to worry about now. Everything will be fine. Obviously, I was just seeing things. Exactly. I was seeing things. Doesn't matter that everything felt that real. Something like that just can't happen. It can't. I claim with all due confidence that this just can't. Modern science claims it's impossible. Not allowed. I laughed loudly. An inner voice tried to stop the verbal diarrhea spouting from my mouth, but it didn't succeed. Feels like my speech and thoughts are separating to exist on their own, independent from each other. My brain prompted me to calm down and try to analyze the situation, while my tongue simply tried to ease the stress by throwing new and meaningless words out into the air. Finally, I was somehow able to pull myself together. I pulled the curtains open and looked out the window. The night city looked exactly the same as it did a week ago. The view brought my mind back to reality, at least to some extent. After all, if everything is now normal and nothing suspicious or supernatural is happening, then wasn't it just a dream? Essentially, there are only two options now. I can agree that it was just a dream and calm down, or I can trust my own feelings and accept that the camp, the bus, and the pioneers were real. Either way, whatever I choose, I won't get any answers. It's funny. I was looking for these answers for a whole week, or at least pretending to, and found nothing. But I broke free from that weird world anyway, and what now? The enigma remains, and additional questions have surfaced. In the end, I was exhausted and fell onto the bed. In a few seconds, I was snoring blissfully. Much time has passed from the moment I came back from Sovjonok, and a lot has changed in my life. The first week I was racking my brains trying to summarize in detail everything that had happened, creating graphs and diagrams, writing to forums, discussing paranormal phenomena, even planned to visit a psychic. In the end, it resulted in nothing, just as one would expect. It's no wonder. I was just a human being, but these events obviously were the affair of a supreme mind. If a caveman found himself in the early 21st century, even he would understand more than me. Well, at first he would think that a cell phone that transmits someone's speech dozens of kilometers away by the will of God is a miracle. But one can get used to it. Maybe if you completed secondary and higher technical education, he would even be able to understand how mobile communications work. It's a basic, exaggerated example, just as unreal as everything I've experienced. I'm unlikely to ever understand how it worked or who was behind it, and I doubt that I could get used to it if it were to happen again. But one question troubled me ever since. Why? Why me? What did I or did I not do to deserve this bad or good luck? Sure, in sci-fi novels, wonders often occur to quite ordinary people, but that was just a matter of chance. I was absolutely positive that these events have occurred for some reason. Just like a random sci-fi hero who traveled 1,000 years forward in time, leaving him in the wrong place and time. But in the future, no one knew him. Everyone thought that he was just a madman. But in my situation, they were expecting me at the camp, at least the camp leader was. How should I respond to that? Maybe I was picked out at random to be studied later on? Even so, the question why not only still stands, but rather becomes even more important. After not finding any sufficient explanation, I returned to my usual existence. But now I wasn't just sitting at the computer 24/7, wiping the F5 key button free of dust. New interests came into my life, but what they were I couldn't tell myself. And suddenly I wanted to get a high education. Not to find a job, and not because it's necessary, just because I remembered how much fun I'd had during the first year of education. Chatting with course mates, days of lighthearted, playful fun, plenty of the energy that I'd lacked so much over the last few years. A truly great man once said, "Any man who reads too much and uses his own brain too little falls into lazy habits of thinking." It's hard to argue with that logic. An ordinary man will not sit around because he is lazy, but because a given subject is just of no interest to him. For instance, I'm not interested in knitting. So does it mean that I'm a slacker if I don't make a couple of woolen sweaters per month? But feeling too lazy to open book, that's something I can understand. Although I like reading, when I start thinking that I have to get through a huge novel, page by page, and even if it's interesting, even if it absorbs me so completely that I can't turn away, that part will only come later. For now, all I need is to get a book from a shelf and open it, but I feel too lazy. I don't know what exactly influenced me, but about a half of my time, instead of the 5 to 10% of it from before, I was occupied with something useful. I read, wrote, studied something new, and engaged in sports, at least I exercised in the morning. Sometimes I thought that it was the influence of the camp. One can't rule out that possibility. For all 7 days there, I was participating in social activities, verbal communication with others, in amounts that before would have caused terror and severe introversion in me. On the other hand, it's not so easy to change one's personality in a single week, especially for someone as stubborn as me. But it is easy to point them in a new direction, show them a guiding line. However, I'd never believed that would be possible with me. Anyway, I enjoyed these changes so much that I tried not to think about their causes. What the hell? Nobody would worry about the why if he managed to hit the jackpot by betting his last pair of trousers. In summer, I re-enrolled at university and studies started in autumn. Time passed, I eagerly attended lectures and seminars and studied for tests and examinations with a level of enthusiasm that I wouldn't have expected from myself. I managed to become a part of the group with surprising ease. Although I was older than most students, it didn't trouble me. Maybe it's because of my natural immaturity or changes in my personality. I didn't know for sure. Most likely the answer is somewhere in the middle. The joy of communicating with people lost many years ago returned. It was easy to get along with others. Their problems didn't seem so distant and trivial to me. Normal life, which before I had considered just a gray, depressing mass, started to shine with new colors. Sometimes it seemed to me that I had turned into a doll, became one of a billion identical tin soldiers standing in straight rows on a shelf in a toy shop. But in this shop, apart from the glowing showcase that sparkled with fancy writing describing new season's offers and Christmas discounts, was a storage where all the defective products were thrown. A teddy bear without a paw, a firefighter's truck in need of a mechanic, a transformer who looked more like a microwave than a mighty robot, jigsaw puzzles which assembled into trippy post-modernist pictures. My place used to be among these broken toys, and while some of them could take refuge in charity drives or an orphanage, my only fate was being dumped and recycled again. So I couldn't help enjoying such changes in my life. Interesting. It's not the end I was expecting, but okay. It was the last lesson of the hardest subject in this term. Most students didn't like it. Because of its difficulty and the hard-to-understand teacher, I suppose. But I found a kind of pleasure in dealing with tables, graphs, and diagrams. Counting the figures by pieces, I arranged them in columns and lines in the right order, summing up, subtracting, dividing, and multiplying, and using them to get a precise picture of any event. No number could avoid my attentive gaze. All of them could be captured, calculated, analyzed. Each of them could get an index number and a place in their proper cell. After its arrival, every digit will be assigned a bunk, work uniform and off-duty clothes, and will be sent to perform its designated task. Some will be digging a trench from 9 to 5, some will march off to face the trends, and some will be trying to hit a linear regression on the shooting range. Groupmate, what are you thinking about? Reluctantly, I stopped writing and gazed at my classmate. Taking notes on the lecture, as you can see. Just screw it. Just read the workbook afterwards. I'll read the workbook as well. I'm always astonished by you. What's so astonishing? You're planning to gain a first-class diploma, aren't you? Never thought of it. Don't tell me you really find it interesting. I remembered that just a moment ago I'd imagined myself emblazoned on a banner borne aloft by a regiment of digits and couldn't help smiling. You won't even need all this stuff. Everything will be needed, at least for general development. Classmate grinned sarcastically. I bet you never read even a single book in your whole life. So what? He asked me challengingly. Just stating a fact. And you're always somewhere up in the clouds. He was right about that. Although I'd regained part of my lost social skills, I often slipped out of touch with reality, dreaming of something else. You say it like it's a bad thing. And there's nothing wrong with not reading books either. Human beings can't have only material needs. I said philosophically, mocking him. Oh, you're such a downer. Yawn. Huh. Reminds me of a little bit of Ulyana. The lecture was approaching its end, and I began to plan out the rest of the day. I need to buy some groceries and later finish a project and send it to the client, and then I've got to write down notes. And then in the evening, I can just read or watch something. Unless someone phones or writes to me, there are no urgent matters, so I can spare some time for my mates. Oh, 5 whole minutes to go. I looked at my phone and realized that it was exactly a year after we returned from Sovyanok Pioneer Camp. My soul felt warmer from such thoughts, and I smiled blissfully. It's not often anymore that I recall those events. Obviously, one can't just forget something like that, those memories of something bizarre and extraordinary that are engraved in my memory forever. Normally, even the happiest moments fade and just reminiscences of them remain, nothing more. But the week spent in Sovyanok was different. I remembered everything in perfect detail. The terror of the first minutes after waking up on the bus, the first day, hard, full of surprises and amazing acquaintances. Cheerful and carefree pranks with Ulyana, just take that trick with the ghosts, for instance. The best Soviet comedians would envy it. And the pioneers had such expressions. They were dying laughing. It sure would be nice to meet Ulyana in real life. Well, she's not always perfect, she's hyperactive, and she doesn't have any idea about good manners, but one doesn't meet such a sincere, carelessly cheerful, and energetic person very often. Maybe she gave some of that energy to me. The bell rang. My classmate stood up and said his goodbyes and left. I started packing my exercise books and textbooks into my backpack, then I suddenly heard someone's voice in front of me. Excuse me, is this the 34th lecture hall? There's a sign on the door. No, there's not. The girl's voice sounded offended. Someone must have removed it. So, is it the 34th? Yeah. At last I closed the backpack and raised my head, intending to stand up. The girl looked terribly familiar. Haven't we... Yes, I thought the same. She looked very surprised. But I don't remember where I could have met you. Neither do I. What year are you in? First year. Oh, still pretty much green. The girl smiled. Everything's still ahead of me. As if I'm already past everything. And what about you? Fourth. So, is it difficult to study? For the first year it is. I knew it, she said in an upset manner. But it gets easier with time. It's always easier when you get used to it. Sometimes I'm too lazy to do things. Yeah, that also happens. Do you still have any stuff from the first year? If you share it, it'll be easier for me to prepare for examinations. Obviously, I had nothing. My first year was finished a long time ago. But I suddenly felt a strong desire to ask for her phone number, so I lied. Yes, maybe, but I'll have to check. That's great. We exchanged our telephone numbers. My name's Semyon. Which I call you? Ulyana. Then I realized who this girl reminded me of. Exactly, she's Ulyana, just about 5 years older. For a moment I was lost for words. What? It's an ordinary name. That was Lenin's name, she said, pouting. No, just... Have you ever been to a pioneer camp? When I was a kid. Why are you asking? In the blink of an eye, all the events that happened in Sovyanok flashed in front of my eyes. So it wasn't a dream. Although they were just summer camps, not pioneer ones, Ulyana added. So you weren't wearing a uniform? The one with a red neckerchief? Of course not. Fashion police alert. She laughed loudly. Why are you asking? I was about to tell her everything, but then realized that she will just consider me a psycho. After all, this girl was much older than the Ulyana I remembered. Maybe she just looks like her. I had a dream, and I think I saw you there. A kind of deja vu. Deja what? It's when one sees something for the first time but believes that he has seen it before. Well, now that you mention it, her face became serious. I think I've seen you somewhere as well. Definitely. Maybe it's that thing you just said. An interesting coincidence, don't you think? I don't know. Anyway, I'll give you a call. See ya. She laughed and ran out of the room. Appearance, behavior, way of talking, she's definitely that exact Ulyana. So does that mean the dream is coming true? I can't help but enjoy it. And above all, I'll see this forever cheerful girl again, for sure. Hey! Oh, attack on the pedobear! Oh no! Every story has its beginning and its end. Every story has its own outline, synopsis, contents, key points, a prologue, and an epilogue. There's no book which, if you read it again, would not reveal new details you didn't notice before. Every story has its beginning and its end. Almost every. Attack of the pedobear. Oh dear. Well, that's terrible. But we met Ulyana when she's all grown up, perfectly legal. Everything's legal. We can now date her just fine. Wonder how the bad ending. He's probably gonna end up in prison with the bad ending. Oh, Olga's gonna run us through with a, I don't know, a shiv. Well, thanks very much for joining me. I hope you liked this route. It was at least a lot more lighthearted, and it ended really, I think it ended really well for Semyon. I mean, he got back home, and it turned out to be real, sort of. Interesting, because with Lena, he ended up staying in that world. But with Ulyana's good end, he goes back home and then meets her later. That's pretty cool. I'm no wiser, though, for the overarching story. Like, why is this happening to Semyon? Guess we'll find out soon, I hope. I mean, sometime during the whole playthrough, I hope. Anyway, join me next time. We will begin to explore Ulyana's bad route. Yeah. Take care.